Hey, hey, it's Tyler and Remy from Rehab to Fab Design. On today's episode of Home Renovation, we are still up in the mountains in Clayton, Georgia, working on a home for a friend where we're helping her get it ready for a short-term rental. So we have been up here painting for the last 2 weeks. We've got most of it done, the walls done, the ceiling's done. We're working on the trim now. However, I wanted to show you these. I'm in the dining room. These walls had old wallpaper on them. And I don't know, I guess some of it was removed at some time, but there's still some on it, and I think there's probably a old coat of wallpaper underneath that as well. And so there was like a handrail around kind of halfway up the ceiling where there was a little bit of wallpaper left, and so they opted not to remove it and just kind of puttied over it to smooth it and make it a flat surface and sanded it down. But I want to show you what happened. So it was nice and smooth, felt good when you rubbed over it. But when we put paint on it, what happens with wallpaper, you know, you wet it to hang it up, but it kind of becomes a little stretchy. And so when the paper got wet, it became a little wavy, where you can see it at the bottom. And so when I tried to just kind of lift it, I was going to just tear that little piece off. It tore a significant area of the wall, as you can see here. So this is all new paint. The trim is done here. I've still got to do beside the trim on the windows, but this right here is a seam that runs along here that you can kind of see all along the wall where the wallpaper started. I'm guessing, I think there's wallpaper on the whole wall that's old, but I think they at some point had a chair rail, handrail, whatever you want to, I called it a handrail, it should be a chair rail. I think that they had paper all the way up to the ceiling. And so what happened was this got wet and it became wavy, kind of bubbly right here, and so it lifted up. And so I tried to lift up just to kind of see, you know, what was under it, to see if I can get it up, and it just instantly tore from here to here. And so now we have this big wall, and as you can see, this is why I say I think it's wallpaper. This is not paint, this is paper, and it's pretty thick. And so we've got this nice big chunk here now that is missing. So I'm gonna repair this. We talked about just doing vertical shiplap in here, all the way from the baseboard to this damaged area. And that is still my backup plan. However, what I'm gonna try to do first is surgically remove this. I'm gonna use a box cutter and try to cut this portion out, and then I'm gonna fill it with my putty, my spackling, and once it's dry, I'll sand it down and I'll try to paint back over it and see how it looks. If it covers it and it looks pretty good, I'll leave it as is, and if not, again, the backup plan is to do some vertical shiplap in the whole dining room. Just thought I'd bring you guys along to show you that and how we're gonna work on fixing it.
So I used a box cutter here to try and cut the portion of old wallpaper that was loose and hanging from the wall, where it waved and kind of buckled from the paint itself. However, if you notice, it starts to kind of spread as I'm working. So I took the piece out that was loose, but then you can see here where I put my hand up under it, I could just touch the piece of the wallpaper that was the good portion, and it would just extend where it was loose. So I ended up having to cut a little bit more off. I did take my blade down the side of the window trim as well to get that off. And it seemed like everywhere I touched it, it got loose again.
So I'm going to use a little bit of liquid nails to put just up under right here to try to seal that. Because I feel like if I keep running my finger along it, it's going to just keep going here and here and here and get bigger and bigger. So I'm going to put a little bit of this on my putty knife and hope that I can kind of slide it up under there. Yeah. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is use my spackling here, same putty knife that I just wiped off. And we're going to use this to build this up because this is lower than this here. So we're just going to smear it on and fill it. So we get a nice even surface for our paint to go back over.
Continue using your putty knife here to apply the spackling to the negative space here on the wall where we removed the loose wallpaper. The goal is to apply the putty in order to raise the height of this area so that it is not only level with the wall paint but actually a little bit higher to allow room for sanding to smooth it once done. This particular brand of spackling goes on pink and starts to lighten as it dries up until a white color, so you can see that it's starting to dry here.
Okay guys, this is 2 days later after I put my spackling over this bad place here where the wallpaper was. It's nice and dry now. I'm going to take some sandpaper and sand it down to try to smooth it out, and hopefully we'll be able to paint over it and roll with it. Okay, so I have a sanding block, and this is just a sanding disc. It's actually one I took off my sander. Looks like a 80 grit.
But it's worn down a good bit, and I'm going to use it to sand the wall right here. The goal here is to sand the spackling down until it is not only level with the surrounding wall space, but also smooth to touch.
Okay, here's what it looks like sanded. I got most of this excess off that was beside the line here. This is the straight line here where I cut the wallpaper. Left a little bit up here because there were some low spots in the wall and the caulk. It feels good, nice and smooth. Now we'll repaint it. Okay, so I am using my Sherwin-Williams, I think it's like a 3/8 snap roller here. And we're just gonna pick up some paint on it. I'm gonna come right over this area that we had to repair and let it dry. And then we will do another coat. I'm gonna have to mess up my trim here. I can get that all the way up flush. Okay, so here is a video of the area that I patched and painted, and you can't even tell it was ever there.
As always, thanks for watching, and we hope you continue to follow along with us on our Mountain Cottage renovation.